Shalom and welcome back to Israel with Aline. Today we will have the unique opportunity to excavate with our own hands the archaeological remains of the Temple Mount. The same Temple Mount whose archaeology was attacked with more than 500,000 objects connected to Mount Moriah, the Temple of Jerusalem, and even to Jesus, were destroyed and discarded. Today we are going to learn about this terrible story of the destruction of biblical archaeology, of the attempt to erase the history of the people of Israel. But we are also going to take part in the rescue project and help rediscover the history of Jerusalem. So if you're ready, let's get started. From here we can clearly see the area of the Temple Mount, and the history of this place began more than 3,500 years ago when Abraham took his beloved son Isaac and brought him to Mount Moriah to almost sacrifice him. Centuries later, King David bought this land and his son King Solomon built the first temple of Jerusalem here, which was destroyed by the Babylonians and later rebuilt. And the second temple of Jerusalem is the temple that Jesus knew, where he made his triumphant entry and where he came to teach every day. It's also where he healed the blind and the lame, and on the pinnacle Jesus was tempted by Satan. The temple was destroyed by the Romans in the year 70 after Christ. Without a doubt, this is one of the most important sites in biblical archaeology, and it's the dream of every archaeologist and Bible lover to be able to excavate here. However, this is completely forbidden because the UACF, which is the Jordanian Muslim organization that controls the Temple Mount nowadays, does not allow any excavation to be carried out. And not only that, they even restrict the access of Jews and Christians to the site. So how is it possible that I have here with me soil from the Temple Mount, that I am touching more than 3,000 years of history? What we are going to learn about today is one of the most important archaeological missions in all of the Holy Land, a story of destruction and the rescue of the archaeology of the Temple Mount. And all of this began in 1999 when the Muslim Waqf carried out illegal construction on the Temple Mount. They excavated the underground areas of the Temple Mount to build a mosque down there. And in this process, they removed more than 400 truckloads with 9,000 tons of earth. This earth from the Temple Mount, which was mixed with archaeological remains, was discarded into the Kidron Valley. The then archaeology student Sahid Vira discovered what was happening, and together with Gabriel Barkai, one of the greatest archaeologists in Israel, managed to rescue it and bring it here to Emek Tzurim. And that's how the Sifting project was created here. Everything we see here around us is this soil mixed with archaeology that came out from inside the Temple Mount. And the first thing that catches your attention when you get here is that it's gray. It's not the color of Jerusalem's soil. Look here, come closer with me. See how it's gray, and why is it this color? Literally because this soil is mixed with ashes, with destruction, with the burning of the first and second temples of Jerusalem. This was also one of the ways archaeologists were able to separate what was remains of the Temple of Jerusalem from what was simply the rest of the soil from the Kidron Valley, because it literally has a different color. And since 2004, they have been working here on excavations, and they have already found more than 500,000 objects, archaeological findings, many of them directly connected to the temple and pieces of the Temple of Jerusalem itself. And we are also going to dig here today. And what do you think we will find? It really is a big mystery, and we have to be aware of what's around us. We have something unique in history here. The only time that earth and archaeological remains were removed from inside the Temple Mount was precisely in the 1990s, and it was done deliberately to destroy and erase the history of the place. And that's why what we see here is the only access we have to the interior of the Temple Mount and its archaeology. And every time I come here, when I can take part in the Rediscover History and Archaeology project, is truly indescribable. It's moving to be able to be here. And this also reminds us of Psalm 102. Because your servants even love the stones of Zion and have compassion on its dust. And now we're going to get our hands dirty. And for that, we need to put on our masks and our gloves. You'll understand why in a moment. And I hope you can hear me well even with the mask on, but we needed to protect ourselves because now comes the tough part of our work. Now we're going to grab a hoe and the bucket. We start here at the base, and now we have to fill the bucket with all this soil. And now we lift the bucket and we're going to take it to the next station. Come with me. Say hi to Melissa. She is a volunteer here in the project and she is going to help us now with the first sifting. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's go. And now, so first of all, let's thank Melissa. Toda Rabah. Thank you very much for joining us. And now everyone, we're going to move on to our next steps because we have a lot to do here. What we just did was separate the stones and the archaeological remains from the soil of the Temple Mount. We can see the soil right here on this side. And before we continue the process, I want to tell you how you can also be part of this legacy of more than 3,000 years. And the archaeologists and researchers from the Sifting project took this soil, prepared it and placed it in containers like this. Each one comes with a numbered certificate of authenticity signed by the chief archaeologist of the project. If you also want to have a piece of biblical history in your hands, take this opportunity to scan the QR code that's on the screen or use the link in the description. And know that by doing this, you are also helping to fund the research, conservation, and documentation of the history of the Temple Mount and supporting the Sifting project. And today, more than ever, we see how many people try to destroy biblical archaeology and erase the memory of the people of Israel. Today, more than ever, we have to fight to keep it alive. And are we going to keep doing this now with our own hands as well? We will keep sifting and digging through the remains of the Temple Mount. Archaeology is hard work too. What we're going to do is grab our bucket, which we already set aside with the soil, and now we're going to divide it into smaller buckets. Now we have 5 buckets, which means we're going to have 5 rounds of excavations. And honestly, I'm even excited to see what we're going to find. Now we're going to fill it with water. Now let's put it here on the side. And it's time to really get our hands dirty and start. Let's go. And now we're going to the second sifting. Let's pour all of this in here. We need to wash the bucket to remove all the excess. It's not a very clean job, and now we're going to wash all our archaeology. Wow, I can already see a lot of things here. And now we start cataloging. What does that mean? We have a little box with 6 compartments, and we're going to put ceramics in the first compartment. And here, look, right away I can already see some ancient ceramics. Then we also have a compartment for ancient glass, metals, and in metals there's also my favorite category, which is ancient coins. There's a category for bones, and a lot of bones, a huge amount of bones were found. No human bones were found, only animal bones, and that's why maybe these are the bones from the sacrifices on the Temple Mount. So we also have a compartment for mosaic stones and the last one for special stones. And now everyone, we can start searching together. Do you see this here? This here is a shell. The whole point is that in Jerusalem, and especially on the Temple Mount, there is no sea. And that's why all the shells were brought by people from distant places. Sometimes they were used as jewelry, as decoration. It is mixed together with cement and sometimes used as decoration in plaster. So along with the bones, we put our shells here and we'll keep looking. Here we can see more pottery, and on the other side, more pottery, more pottery. More pottery, and you can see that this one is even burned on the outside, so it might have been placed in the fire. You really have to pay close attention so we don't miss anything here. And look at this stone, you can see it's very square. There's a chance this stone is a mosaic stone. And if I can give my opinion, there's a chance it's a mosaic stone, probably from the Byzantine period, but the archaeologists will be able to confirm that for us. Whoa, 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 whoa. This here, everyone, is our first metal object of the day. This is a small nail. At first glance, it's hard to give you a date for it, but it's really amazing. Let's put it here and see what else we can find. This is a stone. Wow. You can see that this looks like a stone at first glance, but if you look closely, it's not. This is plaster, but why is it so special? Because of the type of inclusions it has inside. This is a plaster characteristic of the Roman period, specifically from the time of the end of the Second Temple in Jerusalem. So, from the time of Jesus, guys, this is a small piece of plaster that belonged to some building, probably on the Temple Mount. We're unsure if it's from the temple on the Temple Mount, but it's definitely from Jesus' time. Truly amazing. And we put it in our category of special stones. I'm going to take another look to see what I find here, and then we'll move on to our next bucket. I kept looking and I found a few more things that I want to show you. These here that we're looking at are animal bones. So there are these 2 long bones and also this bone that for some reason is burned. This colorful stone, which is so tiny but so beautiful, is part of a colorful mosaic, probably from the Muslim period, just like this is a decorated pottery from the Muslim period. But really, the most beautiful and touching ones, in my opinion, are these pieces of glass. Look here at the craftsmanship of this piece, how delicate it was. This stayed, everyone, underground for centuries and centuries, and we are the first ones to touch it after so long. Now let's put it in its corresponding categories. And then we can move on to our next bucket, because I still hope that we will find something even more special today. Now let's take out our findings and grab all of this here that's already separated without archaeology and discard it. So come with me, let's go over there. And now let's go to our second bucket. Are you ready? Let's get started. Whoa, 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 whoa. We haven't even washed it yet, and you can already see something here. Let's do the process the right way. I'm emotional, but let's go. Let's do everything the way we should. Look at this. We're looking at a tile here, and it probably based on the type of decoration and material. It's probably from the time of the Ottoman Turkish Empire. But let me put it away here clearly among the special stones. And now let's keep washing. Well, we washed the objects and I ended up taking a bath too, but that's part of the process. Let's keep going and see what we have here. The first thing, look here everyone, another piece of glass. And I can't tell you what period it's from, but let's keep it here with the others, this one. If I'm not mistaken, everyone, this is marble, and marble is a fantastic find because part of the second temple of Jerusalem from the time of Jesus, which was built by King Herod the Great, was made of marble. So this marble could be from the time of Jesus, but it could also be from the Crusader period about 900 years ago. But let's keep it here with the special stones, the ceramics in their place, glass, and let's keep searching. More ceramics, more ceramics. More ceramics. Before we start our last bucket, I want to show you one of the finds from this project, one of the most spectacular finds, which is exactly what's right here in front of me. Not all the finds are small, guys. Look at the size of this. This was the capital of a column, so imagine that it was turned over and on top of the column, not at the bottom but at the top. This column capital is dated to the Second Temple of Jerusalem from the time of Jesus. And more specifically, archaeologists and experts believe that it was located in Solomon's portico, which is a specific part of the Temple of Jerusalem in the temple courtyard and one of the places that Jesus used to visit. For example, in the book of John chapter 10, it says that Jesus used to walk through Solomon's portico. So there is a good chance that this very column witnessed Jesus just a few meters away from it. This is really what this project does. They are now bringing archaeology back. And here we can literally touch objects that are 2 and sometimes even 3,000 years old. Let's move on to our next bucket now. But there's very little in it, but let's go. Look here, a big piece of pottery. Wow. I'm going to call one of the archaeologists to confirm this for me. But you can see that there seem to be some lines here. When it dries, we'll be able to see it clearly, but if I'm right, if this is what I'm thinking, guys, if when it dries, we see lines, this is a piece of pottery from the time of the first temple in Jerusalem. We're talking about a piece of pottery that's at least 2,600 years old. We can see that it was the edge of a jar or a pot of a utensil. We are talking about an object that is at least 2,600 years old. and at most around 3,000 years old, but it's not just about the age. This object was probably used in the area of the Temple of Jerusalem, maybe by a pilgrim who came here to the land in ancient times. Come closer now. Can you see that the lines are appearing? Can you see that they look like red lines? This here is a clear characteristic of a vessel from the time of the first temple. It's really amazing. The vessel itself was already made of red clay, but what they liked to do at the time of the first temple was to add an even more reddish color on top. And while the vessel was spinning during its formation, they would take something thin, for example, and run it around the vessel, and the paint would stick more in some spots, so we can see this clearly. We are touching an object that belonged to the time of the first temple in Jerusalem, maybe to one of the priests, one of the pilgrims, or one of the builders who helped build or maintain the place. This here is a piece of history. This has spent 2,600 years inside the Temple Mount complex. This tragedy that happened in 1999, which was this illegal removal of 9,000 tons, changed the history of biblical archaeology. Because we should find this not here where we are in Emetzurim, we should be able to excavate inside the Temple Mount and find the objects in situ, in their original location. Unfortunately, we know that this was not possible, and we also know that it will never be possible with the current political situation because the UACF does not allow it. Even in a slightly different way, what we are doing is something wonderful. We are coming here to rediscover the biblical story. What so many people try to erase, how many people in the world nowadays deny the connection of the people of Israel with their land. They say that Israel was created in 1948, but that's not true. We can literally see the connection right here in this land, and here we can see more pieces of pottery and more archaeology, but it's truly something inexplicable to be able to be part of this. I'm going to keep going. There are still several buckets and parts of my excavation left for today, but I hope you enjoyed being a part of all this. And I want to remind you, if you want a piece of the history of the Temple Mount with you, wherever you are in the world, and also support the project to keep biblical history alive, I left the QR code here on the screen and the link in the description. So thank you so much to all of you who watched, and I'll see you next week with more history.